Hi everybody, this is chapter 5, the IT building blocks networking. In this chapter is going to be a continuation to the previous building blocks that we talked about. We talked about software building blocks, we talked about hardware building blocks, and now we are going to discuss the networking as an IT building blocks. Four objectives that are related to this chapter. The first objective is we need to learn about major segments of the telecom industry. And then the second objective will be the primary reasons for networking. So we need to understand why we have networking and technologies related to networking. The third objective of this chapter is about functions of the telecommunication network. So we need to learn the functions and what are the roles of the telecommunication network. Then we move on to the fourth objective, which is the network topology or the layout of the network, and we will be learning more about different protocols, different layout of the network that is possible during the fourth objective. So we begin with the main introduction of this chapter, which is the networking. So we need to know what's networking. Networking, as we all know, it's a linking of different devices for the purpose of sharing information. So networking, we can say, is the electronic linking of geographically dispersed devices that exist in different locations on the earth, and the distance is there could be a huge distance between them, and they are used to transport both voice and data, and they are referred to as data communication, or sometimes datacom, or teleprocessing and telecommunication. All these are possible names for the networking. The major segments of the network industry, the communication, as we know, have become important in the past 20-30 years, specifically in the 90s, when the deployment of network or local area network started at that time, and as a continuation to the previous work in the networking industry. So there are three major segments of telecom industry that we can talk about. There are segments that are referred to as the carriers, who own or lease the physical plant and sell the service of communication transmission. There is also the equipment vendors who manufacture and sell the different devices, okay, and that could include the routers and network interface cards and telecommunication equipment. There is also the service providers who operate and deliver the network services or provide access to or deliver services via the internet. That could be the internet service provider is a good example of those service providers. So those are the three major segments of the telecom industry. Now, as a good example, we have AT&T is one of the largest carriers of the US in the US industry. And also, we need to understand that in 1984, AT&T, it used to be a huge company. Then it was split into several companies as a result of the U.S. Department of Justice antitrust lawsuit that prevent monopoly. Now, this breakup of the AT&T that led to more innovation in the industry, and there are more also consolidation in this industry. Now, the next topic here is that we need to understand that the primary reasons for networking. Why do we need networking? Why we have to establish networks? So there are the main reasons are the sharing of technology resources. So we need to be able to share technology resources. We need to be able to share our data. We need to be able to have a distributed data processing and client-server model. We need to enhance the purpose of the enhanced communication, and also being able to market our product or marketing outreach. Those are five primary reasons that are relevant to networking, or why we have to have networking. Now, of course, the network could be established simply by having a client and server and a communication channel between them in order to transmit the data. So the client is a requester, requests the data, and the server services the clients and entertain him, and by sending the required data to the client. Now, this is what we call the client-server model. Now, sharing of technology resources, if we want to understand what's a sharing of technology resources, is that in order for us to be able to utilize different resources that are or that could be expensive, for example, printers, scanners, digital devices, those all storage devices, we can share them on the network. So instead of getting a standalone devices for each computer, we could have a sharing of the different technology resources. We can also share our data. In other words, we don't need to have a duplication of data in every host or in every machine. We can share them by having a server for what we call a file server, and then we will be able to share different data that exists on the server across the enterprise. We need also to understand the concept of distributed data processing and the client-server model, as I just have explained before, that we could have a client from one side and a server, and that represents a client-server model, and that, of course, is governed by the deployment of the operating system, what we call it, the network operating system. So there's also some area related to distributed data processing, is that the information processing are being distributed across multiple computers, and that's the power of utilizing or one of the primary objective of utilizing network. The client-server model, again, we talked about this model as well. Now, also, if we want to discuss in more detail the reasons or the primary reasons for having a network, the fourth one, which was enhanced communications. Now, of course, that enhanced communication has provided us with the ability to communicate utilizing email system, bulletin board, blogs, messaging system, social network, which is Facebook and other type of social media, as well as video conferencing. Now, there is also the link between different organizations now is possible, that has provided more strategic alliance between those different entities, and that provided them with the capability of electronic data interchange. Market outreach as the fifth purpose of having a network. Now, of course, being able to share your data is also will provide you the ability to reach your customers, the ability to provide or market your product easily across the internet, across the communication media, across the enterprise. Now, the third, we move on to the third topic here, or the third objective, which is the functions of telecommunication network. Now, there are many different functions that exist for the telecommunication network, and they are being presented here as illustrated on this table. So we need to understand the function of data communication, or the function of telecommunication network from the transmission perspective, from processing perspective, from network control perspective, and from interface perspective. So in terms of transmission, so the telecommunication facilitates the transmission of data and the movement of voice and data actually across the media or across the platform. Now, processing also is being facilitated. So this is ensuring that the data are being processed with error-free, and the communication gets the data is being transmitted from the source to the destination without any problem. And of course, here we could utilize more editorial, conversion, and routing processes, and those are all functions of telecommunication network. Now, network control also could be available in order to track the status of the network elements and making sure that the communication is according to the standard or according to the specification, and the communication is ready for sending data. Interface is also as a function of telecommunication that helps interface a different equipment between users and the network, or handling the interactions between the users and the network. So let's go and discuss further more elements related to the telecommunication network, which is the transmission of data. Now, the data, when they are being transmitted, whether sometimes we utilize transmission that is analog-based data or digital-based data or digital-based signals. So the transmission happens between analog and digital, and you need to understand the difference between the analog signals. And the analog signals is usually some kind of it has a physical property that is continuously changing and varies across the time. So that's what we call it, an analog signal. So analog signals is changing, while digital signals they are also changing, but they have preset values, and they are being represented by zeros and ones. This is what we call it, a digital signals. And this is a nice diagram as being illustrated here in this figure that shows you that signal A, which is a digital signal that is being represented by zeros and ones, and then we have other signals B, C, and D, that those are signals that are analog signals, and they are varying and they are continuously changing, and there are different representation of different signals. Now, when we talk about computer communicates through zeros and ones. Therefore, the computers will be transmitting the data as or will be sending or will be generating data as zeros and ones. Now, if we want to be able to move this data, zeros and ones, into from one device to another, we have to transmit them through the communication media and through the communication channel. Therefore, we need to be able to take those data from the computer and being able to transmit them. That's why we utilize different type of devices, what we call it modems. Sometimes the modem is referred to as modulator and demodulator, and this is where the modem word came from. So digital computer data does not naturally mesh with analog transmission, as we learned. Now it must be converted from ones and zeros to analog signals, and this is illustrated in this diagram here. This is how we take the zeros and ones and we process them with a modulator that modulates the signals that provide a signal that is continuous signal or analog based signals, and then transmit it until it's received from the other end by the other modem. Then it demodulates the signals or to present the digital signal to the other server. We have also different types of transmission. Okay, we have the types of transmission lines could be dedicated physical lines. Okay, that ensures that the quality of transmission is provided. We could have a switched, like a public switched telephone network. It's not dedicated. It's a public network, and it's a switched network. There are some advantages, which is it's cheaper than, but the disadvantage it doesn't carry a lot of data. We have also, we need to understand sometimes there is a concept related to simplex, means that the data could be travel in one direction. We have half duplex, means that the data could travel in both directions but not at the same time, and we will have a full duplex transmission where data could be transmitted in both directions. We have also transmission media. Transmission media is the cabling that transmits the data. Now in networking we utilize a twisted pair cabling. That is what we call it the most popular one, which is the unshielded twisted pair cable that is used in network type of transmission. We used to have before the coaxial cable. Coaxial cable used to be popular, where it was based on thin Ethernet and thick Ethernet, and the concept of coaxial cabling. Now, fiber optics is also another media of cabling that transmit pulses in terms of light signals, and this is the fiber optics is based on fiber or glass that transmits in the inner core the light signals, and there could be multi-mode or single mode type of fiber optics. We can transmit the data through the air, which is wireless, and we have different kind of technology for the wireless. We have wireless LANs, we have microwave, we have satellite, and we have all different kind of technologies, including Bluetooth and radio frequency interconnection. Now, the following diagram illustrates a different type of technology that exists for the wireless. Okay. And just want to refer to the Bluetooth here, and Bluetooth is actually named after the Danish king who united Denmark actually, and it's good for short range radio technology, and it's the design. It consumes little electrical power, and most devices are now Bluetooth ready, means that they can be used to transmit data. Now, for network access for individual, we can also utilize the ISP. The ISP, the Internet Service Provider, provide us with services, and we can access their infrastructure using the digital signal or DSL technology, and they are a good choice for us for interfacing to the network or the enterprise. Now, with regards to network topology, our fourth topic here is a network topology. We need to understand that there are different layout of network that is possible, and we could have a bus. Means that the devices, all of them, are connected in a common backbone, what we call it a bus. We could have a ring topology where devices are connected in a ring, or to form a ring. We could have a star topology where devices are connected to form like a star, so they are all connected to a centralized device. We could have a mix of those, but we can have a tree, or we can have a mesh. All these are network topologies that illustrated in the next diagram here, that shows how those different topologies that exist together. Now, of course, we have also network types, different network types. We got local area network, we have backbone-based network, we have wide area network, we have the internet, and we have the internet too. All these are considered to be different network types, and that they really existed back until the 1980s, and they are as a continuation, or as it's considered to be the successor of the mainframe environment. That's why we have the network communication, telecommunication network that boomed in the 90s and 2000 era. Local area network here also, it can be we can discuss this in a little bit more detail. And this is there are many different standards that's developed by the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, or IEEE, and they have the 802 standard, which is a family of different standards, and that they are available. The one that we can refer to as, for example, the Wi-Fi is the 802.11. This is what we use in offices and in different environments. And there is also now the new standard, the WiMAX, which is the IEEE 802.16. This is also going to be available. There are different hardware devices for backbone, which is middle distance network. We can utilize all these different devices. We have, for example, if there is a signal, if the signals needs to be extended, we have the repeater. If there is a switch needed to be done, we have the hub. We have wireless access points for the wireless communication. We have a bridge to bridge two different network. We got the switch, or the switch is considered to be the most popular one. And also we have the router that is possible to use to route between two different network or two different signals. We have also the wide area network technology that is based on switch circuit or dedicated lines or packet switch network. By this, we're reaching the end of chapter 5. Thank you very much.